Hi everyone, I'm Greg. Welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for joining me for the second episode of Gregg the Artivist. Now, before we do kickstart the episode, I just want to say a huge thank you for the overwhelmingly positive support and feedback that was given following the first episode, and for those of you that reached out to me directly to give me more constructive feedback. Everyone's comments are really appreciated, so if you do have something to say, whether it's about something I say in the episode, whether it's about the art I'm creating, or it's about how I could improve the channel, then please don't hesitate to leave your comments in the comment box below. With that said, the interesting thing that I discovered is that I seem to be appealing to a number of different audiences. There's those of you that want longer videos, those of you that want shorter videos, those of you that want more about the environment, and those that want more about the art. Now, the YouTube algorithm is a monster, so I'm going to keep the episodes for the first 4 episodes in the similar format, but to make it easier for everyone, what I've done is I've added a timestamp description for each of today's segments in the description box below, so you can just jump down there and click through to the parts that interest you most. Now, with all of that said, let's get today's episode underway. I really hope that you enjoy it, and here is my climate story part 2. To get 51 billion tons of human-generated greenhouse gas emissions to zero, we need to change how we produce just about everything by 2050. Plus, we need to make significant changes within the next 8 years to keep global warming under a 1.5 degree increase. The clock is ticking, and not a single one of us will go unaffected. We need commitment, action, and most importantly, urgency. Demand climate action now. A lot of our activities generate greenhouse gases, from making energy to the clothes that we wear to the food that we eat. And changing everything is a lot for anyone to comprehend, let alone take it on board. So to feel less overwhelmed, I've picked my battles these last years, and I'm focusing my attention on 3 specific areas. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, has found that emissions from fossil fuels are the dominant cause of global warming, with around 75% of all global CO2 emissions coming from fossil fuels and industry. Now, meat accounts for nearly 60% of all greenhouse gases from food production, and the entire system of food production, such as the use of farming machinery, spraying of fertilizers, and the transportation of products, causes over 17 billion metric tons of greenhouse gases a year and represents 35% of all global emissions. Our oceans and seas are having a hard time, with the water temperatures increasing, causing the bleaching of our reefs, to the stocks and ocean ecosystems declining in many parts of the world because of industrial overfishing and our destructive techniques to satisfy our growing consumption. Now, by having more fish and other marine life in the sea, it means that we have more carbon sequestration. Now, this is a vital process that locks emissions away. It's estimated that the oceans contain about 38,000 gigatons of carbon, and this is by far the largest reservoir of carbon on Earth, even more so than our forests. And I'll be talking much more about fossil fuels, the meat and fishing industries in coming episodes. Now, I'm no angel, but for some years I've been trying really hard to offset my lifestyle in these areas, and yes, it's not always easy. But for me, living in the middle of the center of the city, I don't have the need or even own a car. I can just walk, cycle, and use public transport. Plus, I offset my air travel, which I've significantly reduced, and like many people, I have energy-reducing elements in my home, such as double-glazed windows and LED lights, which of course just makes good home economic sense anyway. And the truth is, I love meat. I could tuck into a juicy steak, breakfast, lunch and dinner and still want more. And although I haven't gone vegan, I've significantly reduced my meat, fish and dairy intake. So no one was more surprised than me how easy it was to change to a 99% meat and fish-free diet. It's been trial and error, of course, but there are many tasty alternatives available, and it's been incredible to learn amazing recipes that are far healthier, more filling and less expensive to start with. But on that extremely rare occasion that I do eat meat or fish, I don't put myself through the shame and guilt in doing so. I just try to know where it was sourced from to make an informed decision, and it's given me a completely new appreciation for it. Plus, I seem to have developed a less gluttonous need for it. But I also recognize that bigger efforts are needed to be taken with these industries, and I can't help make the bigger impact that's needed now by simple lifestyle changes. So I've begun to participate with the many online and offline petitions being organized by numerous organizations, either in my area, country, Europe, and even the world, who are lobbying for immediate climate action by our governments and taking legal action against organizations and industry. Now, to be heard, they need a minimum number of signatures to be put forth for discussions to be raised in parliaments or courts. And it takes me just about 5 minutes a week to make a huge difference. And it's great to hear about the many successes that just a few minutes of my time and my signature has helped achieve. Now, I realize that making significant changes to our lifestyle is going to be easier for some than it is for others for a huge variety of reasons. But we can make better choices with easier and more alternative opportunities available to us at similar prices to what we pay now if pressure is put onto our governments to make real commitments and take real climate action now. The coming decades will not be easy for any single one of us, and we would be fools to think that either ourselves or someone that we know will not face the harsh reality of life-threatening consequences due to the climate crisis. So my question to you, what can you do to put pressure on your government to take climate action now? Now, since I started doing art full-time 2 years ago, I've had a massive learning curve. And I think that's because I entered into this with this kind of pre-programmed, pre-wired idea of business, whereby it's so strategic that we have this idea at point A and we need to take it to point Z, and we need to follow all the things in between to make sure that we end up with exactly what we want. And of course, art doesn't really work like that. It's much more like life, whereby it's not so much about the destination as it is about the journey to get there. And I don't think that one piece of art that I've created over these last couple of years has actually successfully achieved that sort of business formula of this is what I want and this is what I ended up with. In fact, what's happened along the way is that it's kind of evolved and developed and blossomed in ways far beyond anything that I imagined when I first set out, for the better. And that's no different than with this project. Check out in the following segment how it's gone from idea to turning into its reality. So it's been over a week since I had the dream about the statue, and I have to say I still remember every detail so vividly. In fact, it's still on my mind sort of day and night, so much so that I'm actually putting aside the last piece that I'm working on at the moment for another series to just spend the day-to-day and get this out of my system to get it drawn up. I still don't know how I want to realize this all at the moment, but yeah, I'm just hoping that if I can just better sketch maybe the idea of that dream and encapsulate the kind of feelings and emotions that I was experiencing in this dream, that it will give me a little bit of relief for the moment, and I can decide what to do with that later on. I did do a drawing at the time of the dream. I always keep my iPad next to the bed, so after waking up from that dream, I did a rough sketch. It's got lots of details that I didn't want to forget, but like I said, this dream is so vivid, I can still remember everything as if I'm kind of standing in that experience right now. So I'm going to get on with it. So as I'm drawing this just now, I'm kind of thinking, where do I want it all to end up? And like the other dream sequence dreams that I did, the one thing that I like about them, and the one thing that people seem to appreciate about them, is that because they were kind of a combination of different types of art merged together, it kind of drew you into the image and what was going on into my world at that time. And I really want to be able to achieve that with this. I mean, this is all-consuming, as I mentioned earlier. And so I think it's something that I really want the audience to be able to get in and go around it and explore it. And I was thinking about the dream sequence I did called Nightmare, where I was sort of being dragged through this forest by this alien type creature, ghost type creature with huge octopus tentacles sort of wrapped around me and taking me through as I'm kind of wrapped in its arms. And that was a really interesting piece to do, because I had hand-drawn that forest. I had taken a photography of myself, which I had digitally manipulated with the creation particularly of the sea creature or the ghost or whatever that creature was in the nightmare. And then I merged it together into a video format. So it was lots of different techniques all coming together. And because of the scale of this, I hope that I can achieve the same. But I'm going to keep getting on with this kind of initial sketch and see where I end up. Well, I've completed this now. It's much more sort of in line with the dream. And I like the fact that my kind of position in this image is kind of looking up. Although I didn't put the plant in the hand for some reason, but nevertheless. But I don't think this is going to work. This is, even if I create this perfectly, or not perfectly, but create this well, I don't think I'm going to be able to encapsulate everything that I want to, because there's so many different meanings to different levels of this, and I want to be able to explore those further. So I'm going to think about this a bit more and come back to it a bit later on. So after completing the drawing yesterday, I thought a lot about it in the evening and realized that actually I'm not going to be able to achieve what I really want to achieve. And that's really drawing the audience into this dream that I had, and to really experience the scale of this sculpture and really be able to sort of focus on all the various details of this sculpture that are reflecting these different emotions and feelings that I have about the climate crisis and the cause of the climate crisis. So I've decided that, I'm going to try and 3D model it. Now, the thing about this is that I've never 3D modeled anything in a digital environment before. I have no idea how the software works. But thankfully, I found a course online with Udemy. It's about 72 hours, so I've got a lot of learning to be done. And I'm hoping that with this, I can create this 3D model and film it in this digital environment, and then also film myself in real life against a green screen, then merge everything together with the special effects and do some painting and drawing over top of all of it, and then create a short video of this dream. And then hopefully that will give me the result that I want. So I have a lot of work and a lot of study to get stuck into. So I'm going to get on with that now, and hopefully the next time we speak, I've actually learned something, and I'm on my way to achieving what I want. Now, unfortunately, that's all we have time for in today's episode, but please do join me next time when I will be completing the first part of the 3D modeling. I'll be creating that here in the real world, and there will also be my climate story part 3 and much more. Again, if you enjoyed today's episode and you haven't done so already, please do give this video a thumbs up. Please also subscribe to the channel and click on that bell to be updated of future episodes. You'll get tired of hearing me say this, but I cannot express enough how far these simple actions go in letting the YouTube algorithm know that I exist on their platform and put my content in front of like-minded people. And if you'd like any more information about today's episode, you might also consider joining me over at Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description box below. Now, with all that said, I just want to say one more thank you for watching today's episode. Wish you all well until next time, and remind you that you too can have a voice.